got time to compete in the Mr. Olympia and the Tour de France. I'm too busy making videos. Coach Greg, and today it's Q&A time. Posted on my wall and said, hey, what's the question? So I'm gonna just read them through and answer the most popular ones and see what y'all think. So let's just get right into it. John197, is Will Tennyson natural? By the way, he's now a Gymshark athlete. Does the fact that he just got sponsored by Gymshark change his natty or not status? No, of course it doesn't change it. You could be natural and get sponsored by Gymshark, not likely, but you could, so it doesn't change his natty or not status in the least. Nor does it change the fact that he has to continue doing PDs or not do PDs. So if he was in fact natural before getting sponsored, it would encourage him to continue to be natural. If he was on PDs before he got sponsorship, it would encourage him to continue doing the same thing. Mung Arkham wants to know, you talked about your body fat set point in one of your videos. Can it be changed with time? If yes, how? Yes, of course you can change it. If you increase the muscle mass on your body, you're going to increase the amount of calories you burn and make it easier to maintain a lower body fat level. If you keep eating like crazy and don't exercise and carry more and more body fat, then you could in fact raise your set point. Okay? There's bad things you can do with your life that can raise or decrease your set point. What can you do? No matter what your set point is, doesn't mean it's set there. It's set there, but it can be lowered or raised. If you set the temperature of your house to 15 degrees, which is a cold room temperature, doesn't mean you need to freeze. You're allowed to wear a jacket inside. You see how you can change things? So just because you were born to be obese, doesn't mean you need to stay there. You can lower it. What do? You eat lower calorie dense foods, you exercise, build more muscle, and you can lower your set point. Doesn't mean it's going to be lowered to that of a Gymshark athlete like Will Tennyson. No, not everyone can go from being obese to ripped all the time. No, but everyone can do better. Everyone can improve. Not everyone can be an IFBB pro, and not everyone can be a Gymshark athlete. But people can improve. And guess what? Eventually I have my own clothing company. Gymshark don't want me? Well, screw them. I want my own self. If you can't beat them, join them. If you can't join them, beat them. So I'm going to beat Gymshark at their own game. Just give me some time. Took them 10 years to get to where they're at. Give me 10 years, see where I'm at. And I'm on HRT. I can do anything. Don't forget that. I might even raise my dose from 140 milligrams a week to 150. Then imagine what I could do. Drew H. wants to know, what are your thoughts on a study showing artificial sweeteners have a negative outcome on gut microbiome? I don't care. That's what my thoughts are on that. I don't care. What are you friends with? What the hell's that name of that guy? Are you friends with Bobby Parrish? Are you orthorexic? Why do you care so much? There's a study proving everything's horrible for you. You can only filter feed like SpongeBob if you want to avoid everything.
I'm a sponge. I'll just filter feed.
There's going to be a study showing everything's bad. Ooh, there's a study showing that aspartame could kill you. Yeah, there's a study showing sugar can kill you. There's a study showing you that not eating any sugar can kill you. Whatever, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it. Ryan Knoke, do you think there is any value to doing neck training, like neck curls and extensions? No, there's no value in it. Unless you need to, then there's value in it. Is there any value to me doing it? No, none. So I don't need to do it. Okay? It's basically as simple as this. If you're in a sport where you need that, then yeah, there's value to it. If you're a wrestler, then sure. If you're just working out to look good, you don't need to do it. Trav W wants to know, what's the most common mistake you see when someone begins taking PDs for the first time? The most common mistake is the fact that they in fact do take PDs for the first time. The most common mistake is taking them in the first place when they're not ready. The next most common is taking too much. Everyone takes too much. Start less and then add more later if need be. But the number one factor is don't take it in the first place. Joseph Teres wants to know, what's the most annoying thing that people do or things that happen when you're outside riding a bike? The most annoying thing is beeping the horn very, very loudly about 50 feet from when they get to you. And then it startles you and you almost crash. And they think they're alerting you. Meanwhile, you heard the car from a long ways back and they beep so close to you. It's like, beep, ah, scream, crash off the road. It's dangerous. If you're gonna beep, beep way back. We don't want to know 1 second before that you're going to pass us. Let us know 10 seconds before. Steven Schleckels wants to know, to get great abs, you need lower body fat, but is it also recommended to do daily ab workout routine, like 10 or 15 minutes abs, or is this counterproductive? Thanks. You don't need to train abs ever. As in, training abs. You don't need to train abs. You need to be ripped to see your abs. Doing ab workouts all the time, not gonna give you the abs you want. That's all the misleading information you see on YouTube. People with their 8 minutes to ripped abs, 2 weeks ab training to get ripped. All those BS freaking commercials on YouTube, not gonna give you abs. I never train abs. I pose them, I practice flexing them because you need to show them off. You need to know how to display it. You need to know how to display, you need to know how to show them. You want abs, diet, do cardio, and practice flexing them. Show them. Go in front of the mirror, as egotistical as you think it is, and flex and stand and pretend you're trying to show them to someone. That's how you get the abs you want. Jonathan Garcia, how do you tell your parents that eating high-calorie dense foods like nuts and olive oil aren't the best for losing weight without seeming like a know-it-all? You literally have to show them scientific evidence or say, hey, this YouTube guy, he has 665,000 followers. Show them the video, say he says not to do it. And then they'll say, yeah, but he's on steroids. And then you'll say, yeah, but it's only HRT. And you can go back and forth. But say, hey, he knows what he's talking about. And eating high-calorie dense foods is not going to help you. Quakes187. Why does everyone in bodybuilding shows need to be so unnaturally tan? What's wrong with being your own skin tone? It's freaking weird. Well, here's the difference. The person that comes in with a normal tan, like I have pretty dark skin. My tan is actually not too bad, even though I'm not even tanning. And if I were to stand on stage looking like this, I would absolutely for sure look worse than if I had the fake tan. If you have a darker skin, you will look leaner. You'll look leaner, just like better lighting is going to make you look leaner. You need to have a ridiculously stupid looking tan to look your best. You will see more definition. You're being judged on definition. If you don't show as much definition, you don't do as good. If you don't have as deep of a tan, you won't do as good. Palmer Pong, are you able to recover from running 6 miles a day as well as lifting? How will it affect muscle growth? Yes, you can recover from both. And yes, it will affect muscle growth in the fact that it will decrease it. It will for sure, without question, 100% positively, for sure, to the 100th, to exponent 100%, it'll for sure make it harder to put on muscle. A large amount less muscle. You can recover from it, doesn't mean you're gonna grow as much. You can't recover from both cardiovascular activity and muscle building activity at the same time at the same rate. The body can't recover and maximize for both. For example, you can't be the best sprinter in the world and a marathon runner. It doesn't work. You can be pretty freaking good at both, but you can't be top level in one and top level in another. So if I take up running right now, like I used to do triathlons, I was pretty good at triathlons, like not bad, but I was also pretty freaking good at weightlifting. Better at weightlifting, so I went that route. If I continued to do triathlons my whole life, I'd still have a pretty decent build. I'd probably look like Tennyson. But I wouldn't be as big as I am right now. I would certainly look good and be fit, but not as good at either. And on the contrary, if I only did triathlons and stopped lifting weights, I'd be way fitter. I'd be way more fit and faster on the bike. I'd be able to run faster and all that. Can't do both at the top level. Blake Bootschultz says, how can you manage to eat healthy when surrounded by people that don't? You don't eat what they do. You're allowed to eat what they don't eat. You don't have to do what they do. That's like saying, how can you go to the bar sober when everyone else is drinking? Well, you go to the bar without drinking. Mr. T wants to know, ooh, Mr. T. Probably not the Mr. T that I know. Aesthetically speaking, what single muscle do you think makes men look better? Better not be that muscle. A lot of people say it's the shoulders. Your thoughts? Well, the most important muscle, I think, to make somebody look good is abs. I mean, if you automatically have abs, you're pretty much automatically going to be, oh, you look pretty good. Now, if you have a big old gut and the guy said shoulders, if you have a big stomach like this and you have wide shoulders, not going to do much. But if you have abs, even with no shoulders, at least you got abs. So to me, the answer is abs. After abs, I would say wide shoulders is probably the next most important muscle to have to impress people, to give you that V shape. And if I had to go down the list after shoulders, I would say biceps, and then I would say chest, And then I would say back. Obviously, it's going to muscles that show the most. For example, in a tank top like this, the muscles you can see in a tank top are going to be the most impressive. No one's seeing your quads and hamstrings and glutes, really. So it's not as important in terms of looking impressive to most people. But if you get naked, things could change. Jarin asks, what are some ways to speed up your workouts while still getting good training in? Okay, I have an actual training book that actually solves this exact problem. I have training book plan 90-minute workouts. I have one 60-minute workouts. Not everyone has time to train 9 minutes. I go from the agonist muscle to the antagonist muscle. For example, maybe you could do biceps and then after that you do triceps. Maybe you do a set of chest, then after that you do back. You alternate back and forth. Second thing you could do, circuit training. You could do, for example, leg extensions, then you could do leg curls, you could do glute raises, you could do anything in a rotation so that while the muscle you just worked is resting, for example, if you did a set of calves and the next set you're doing a set of biceps, the calves are resting while you're doing biceps, then you do a set of leg extensions, then the calves and biceps are resting while you do that, and by the time you get back to calves, you're already good to go. The calves are well rested. You can get a shitload done in an hour or less and still have a complete body workout. Tristan James says, what is considered overtraining? Overtraining is when you can't recover optimally from your training that you're currently doing. So you're tearing your muscles down so much that you literally can't recover and improve. So if every time you train, you get worse, you're overtraining. If you don't feel recovered, if you're sore all the time, if you feel like you don't want to go to the gym anymore, if it's a freaking mental struggle every single time you go work out, you're overtraining. Chances are you're not overtraining. So don't be like, oh, I'm going to back off. Unlike Dr. Sam Robbins, who thinks you should train 3 to 4 times a week for 45 minutes at most, you can train a lot harder than that. Your body will adapt. Train slow, progressively overload. Train harder than last time, little bit harder. If you're sore and not recovering, you're overtraining. There's other more scientific measures. You could measure your heart rate in the morning, resting heart rate, but this gets really confusing. You will know when you're overtraining. If you don't think you're overtrained, you're not. If you think you're overtrained, then you might be. Then you have to examine your workouts and say, am I improving? Am I getting better? If the answer is no, then maybe you need to back off. Aloda Figuna says, would you kick your girlfriend out if it meant you could win the Tour de France and Mr. Olympia in the same year? Well, it depends. Am I allowed to still go out with her? Could I just say, hey, you got to go, and then bring her back in after? Because if the answer is yes, then sure. If it means I can't get back with her ever again and we're done, then no. And frankly, I don't got time to compete in the Mr. Olympia and the Tour de France. I'm too busy making videos. So the question should have been rephrased. Would you quit making YouTube videos if you could win the Mr. Olympia and the Tour de France in the same year? And the answer is yes, because after the year's over, I could go back to making the videos and would have so much more quality information. I could explain how easily I won the Tour de France, because I'm on HRT, how I got array with all the drug testing, and so on. Next question. Johnny America says, who's Coach Greg's man crush? No homo, Will Tennyson or Chris Bumstead? I'd rather look like Chris Bumstead for sure. It's not even close. Will Tennyson's in decent shape. Chris Bumstead's the Mr. freaking Olympia. The last question just said if you could win the Mr. Olympia. So the last question could have been rephrased. Would you trade places with Chris Bumstead? You see, it's not a close call. Will Tennyson is not Chris Bumstead. He's more popular on YouTube, but he's not better looking. Are you kidding me? Ask Will Tennyson. I'm sure he'd agree. Okay, that's it. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette, IFBB Pro. Follow me on Strava, where I'm bike riding harder than last time. Watch these 2 videos. They're very educational. Gotta watch at least one. And until next time, I am out.